Not that I was around in the mid-90s, but when drummer Phil Rudd returned to AC/DC in 1984, I bet the hardcore AC/DC fans were screaming for joy. Hallelujah! I would have done the same thing had I been around in the mid-90s, to be honest. What's up, people? Welcome to Rock and Roll Tales from the Lady in Black. I'm your host, Lana Jeremiah. Today's episode is all about AC/DC's 13th studio album, Ballbreaker, the first with Phil Rudd back in the band. When Phil left AC/DC, or was fired from the group, depending on who you ask, in 1983 after recording the Flick of the Switch album, the band was in the midst of a weird transitional period. After working with producer Robert John Lang, aka the unofficial sixth member of Def Leppard, for 3 albums in a row, AC/DC wanted to go back to the basics, as far as recording-wise. They wanted a rawer sound that would match a concert atmosphere. Unfortunately, that polished sound the band so desperately tried to stray away from was the exact thing that was trending in the mid to late 80s. By the time Flick of the Switch came along in August 1983, we had albums like Motley Crue's Too Fast for Love, Night Ranger's Dawn Patrol, Def Leppard's Pyromania, and Quiet Riot's Mental Health. For the rest of the 80s and early 90s, teased hair, due to its like hot checks, glossy production, and power ballads were in. Then you had AC/DC dressed in jeans and t-shirts, still singing songs like TNT and Let There Be Rock, as if nothing had changed. But they did. Creatively, Flick of the Switch is amazing. The following albums, not so much. Fly on the Wall and Blow Up Your Video are lacking consistency and memorable material. Those 3 albums alone, Flick of the Switch, Fly on the Wall, Blow Up Your Video, were only certified platinum by the Recording Industry Association of America, as opposed to the multi-platinum status of the Mutt Lange albums. In fact, according to an article by Ultimate Classic Rock titled Why AC/DC's Flick of the Switch Was Doomed to Fail, it took nearly 18 years for Flick of the Switch to earn a platinum status. The soundtrack album, Who Made Who, released in 1986, was certified 5 times platinum. But I'm not counting that one since it's partially a greatest hits album. AC/DC were still around playing clubs, arenas, and bars, that sort of thing. But they weren't exactly MTV darlings, know what I'm saying? It was 1990s The Razor's Edge that brought AC/DC back to the forefront as far as commercial sales go, thanks to Thunderstruck. So what led to Phil Rudd rejoining AC/DC? Well, he was invited to several low-key jam sessions by Malcolm and Angus Young. All that bad blood from the Flick of the Switch era was cleared up to the point where Mal and Angus felt like they could trust Phil again, which was a big deal because Phil and Mal ended on bad terms following the Flick of the Switch recording sessions. Phil's alcohol and drug addictions were getting out of control, and Mal was simply getting impatient, leading Mal to punch Phil after the latter showed up 2 hours late for a gig. When Phil and Mal rekindled their friendship, you'd think it went smooth sailing from there, right? Wrong! After working with producer Rick Rubin on 1983's Big Gun for the Last Action Hero soundtrack, the band brought him back when it was time to record the Ballbreaker album. This was a grave mistake. Beginning at New York's Power Station studio, Rick, engineer Mike Fraser, and Phil couldn't get the right drum sound, and after 10 frustrating weeks in the studio, operations shifted to LA's Ocean Way Studios. Rick was also dividing his time between working with AC/DC and working with the Red Hot Chili Peppers on their One Hot Minute album. This irritated the Young Brothers greatly, who were used to producers giving them their full undivided attention. To make matters worse, like Mutt Lange, Rick was also a perfectionist, making the band record songs up to 50 times. According to an article by Classic Rock magazine titled AC/DC, The Story Behind the Razor's Edge and Ballbreaker, Brian recalls he would come in at night and say, we'll try that song a different way tomorrow. By the time we finished, we played the song so many different times, you'd be sitting there going, Jesus, I'm sick of this bloody thing. Finally, Ballbreaker was released on September 26, 1995. The lineup that plays on the album includes Brian Johnson on lead vocals, Angus Young on lead guitar, Malcolm Young on rhythm guitar, Cliff Williams on bass guitar, and Phil Rudd on drums. Ballbreaker is my favorite AC/DC album, even though it has one of the worst songs AC/DC have ever written. Call With Your Pants Down. It's not a pleasant listen.
Ow! Oh, for the love of God! It burns!
Nonetheless, the album is still filled with bangers. My favorite songs on the album include Hard as a Rock, being the first single from Ballbreaker. This song was a big deal for AC/DC because it was their first single with Phil Rudd back in the band. There are certain AC/DC songs where it's absolutely necessary to headbang to, and Hard as a Rock is one of them. As seen on AC/DC's No Bull and Stiff Upper Lip live concert releases, the song works really well live. My favorite live version of the song, however, is from June 2001 at Stade de France, Paris. I apologize if I'm pronouncing that wrong, by the way, where the crowd sang along to the song's opening riff. Even Cliff was smiling like, "This is freaking cool, dude!" Brian's vocals were strained since the Flick of the Switch era, but by the time we got to the Ballbreaker era, Brian's voice was more straight and gravelly than ever. Hard as a Rock suits Brian's voice perfectly, and I thought it was really cool of Mal and Angus to adapt their songwriting, as Brian's voice kept changing throughout the 90s and 2000s. It's a mid-tempo rocker with a juicy bass line, excellent guitar harmonies from Mal and Angus, the melodies are super catchy, Phil Rudd provides a sick groove, and when Angus sings Hard as a Rock after his guitar solo, you automatically scream. No questions asked. However, alleged to say that since Hard as a Rock came into my life, I haven't looked at hot potatoes the same way ever since.
Oh, you nasty.
Next, we gotta cover you in oil. Is it weird for Brian to be singing about rubbing his hands up and down a girl's legs? Not very AC/DC standards. Cover You in Oil is the third single from Ballbreaker. Cliff provides a rhythmic bass line that goes perfectly with Phil's simplistic backbeat. My favorite part of the song takes place at the beginning of the second verse, where Brian goes, "On the zip, she give a lip. Zerus." I think that part is absolutely genius. The song's music video is literally women covering themselves in oil. And for some strange reason, I'm curious about how much these women were paid to take part in that music video, because I'm sure the smell was disgusting and that it was not easy to scrub off that oil. Next, we got Boogeyman.
I'm the bogeyman.
This is what I call AC/DC's Halloween song. It's one of the spookiest, if not the spookiest song in AC/DC's discography, with its moody and suspenseful atmosphere. Except their version of a boogeyman is not scary at all. He's a sex monster obsessed with cigars, women, and fast cars. It's bluesy as heck, and if you saw AC/DC perform the song live, God bless you. When they performed Boogeyman on the Ballbreaker tour, it was the striptease song, and while Angus ran around on stage, Phil Rudd, smoking a cigarette of course, provided a jazzy beat on the hi-hat that was chef's kiss. What I also appreciate about Boogeyman is that Brian is singing in his lower range for the verses, and you can actually understand what he's singing. Cause I hate to say it, but whenever Brian sang, or should I say shrieked, in his higher range, I could barely understand what he was singing. Singing in his lower range also made it easier for Brian's voice because, as mentioned before, Brian's voice was pretty strained by this point. Next up, we got the honey roll. Oddly enough, it makes me hungry for butter rolls, like those appetizers you get served at Italian restaurants, you know what I'm saying? The main guitar riff has a little boogie and finger-picking style that remind me of the title track for Back in Black in House of Jazz from Stiff Upper Lip. On a similar note, the groove even reminds me of the title track from Back in Black. The same can be said for a lot of AC/DC songs, but who the hell cares? Next up, we got my favorite song from the album, Burning Alive. I've always liked this song, but after listening to it more often for the past couple of years, I gained a new appreciation for it. Plus, it helps that AC/DC never played this song live, and it's not overplayed to death like a whole lot of Rosie. Burning Alive is about the Branch Davidians' cult siege in Waco, Texas. According to an article from ATF.gov titled Remembering Waco, in May 1992, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives began an investigation on the Branch Davidians and their leader David Koresh for illegally possessing weapons and destructive devices. According to a People magazine article titled What Was the Waco Siege, after gathering enough evidence, the ATF executed a raid on the Branch Davidians at their 77-acre Mount Carmel compound on February 28, 1983. After a 2.5-hour-long gunfight, 4 ATF agents were killed and a 51-day standoff took place. The ATF then attempted to force the members out of the compound by setting off tear gas in the building on April 19, 1983. The People magazine article states that 6 hours after the tear gas went off, the compound went up in flames. It's been long debated how the fire started, but 76 members of the Branch Davidians, including some children, were burned to death. The inspiration behind Burning Alive makes me love the song even more because it's one of the few AC/DC songs that's not about sex. The instrumentation is oozingly delicious with Cliff's juicy bass line, Mel's piercing guitar riff, and Phil's sizzling hi-hat work. What I love so much about Phil's drumming is he allows the hi-hat to breathe. Some drummers like that closed and stiff hi-hat sound, but rock and roll needs to be loose and carefree, which is why Phil's drumming works so well for the genre. Plus, Angus's guitar solo is damn fine and headbang worthy. I started this YouTube channel as a platform to promote the music I love, more specifically rock and roll music. I'm not just talking about the greatest hits of AC/DC and Bon Jovi. I'm talking about Def Leppard deep cuts, Richie Sambora's solo albums, and newer rock bands like Rival Sons and Black Stone Cherry. If you like this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and hit that notification bell so that you never miss a video. Next up, we got Hail Caesar. When I think of Hail Caesar, I think of two things. One, Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas, and two, Mel's red tank top that he wears in the song's music video. The song is a stab at politics, which you don't see AC/DC doing often. Keeps licking all the honey, chewing up the fat he rakes. Instead of sending to the lions, they cover him in praise. I was like, those lyrics, brutally honest if you know what I mean. It works really well live, especially with everyone chanting, "All hail Caesar! Hail! Hail!" It screams stadium banger from top to bottom. My favorite part of the song is after Angus's guitar solo when Phil provides a thundering beat on his toms before switching to the bass drum. It provides a suspenseful mood while Brian sings the first few lines of the song's second verse. Brian also makes use of his lower range for that part, which is nice. Next we got Whiskey on the Rocks. I don't have much commentary about the song other than I love the sizzling melodies, Phil Ed provides a killer groove, and it's very bluesy and pure rock and roll. I also think the title Whiskey on the Rocks has a nice ring to it. I don't drink alcohol, so I can't relate to the song's lyrics, but the song's vibe is cool. Last, we got the title track Ballbreaker. I'm not sure how true this is, but years ago, I saw this meme with Brian on the wrecking ball that they used for the Ballbreaker live performances, and it basically said that Brian was working the wrecking ball years before Miley Cyrus did it. That just cracks me up. While the wrecking ball looks cool, it's also very dangerous and insane. Brian literally had to hold on for dear life, sitting as still as possible, while that ball swung side to side on stage. If you watch the band's live performance at the Entertainment Centre in Sydney, Australia, November 1986, Cliff leans his head to the side because he's trying to avoid getting hit by the wrecking ball. The lyrics are very sleazy and very inappropriate. But then again, this is AC/DC, not Emily Dickinson. Mel's piercing guitar riff is the song's main highlight. Ballbreaker didn't exceed the sales of The Razor's Edge, but it did go on to be certified 2 times platinum by the Recording Industry Association of America. At the end of the day though, who the hell cares about album sales? Heck, Powerade is only certified platinum, and that's a way better album than Ballbreaker. But even though Ballbreaker isn't a perfect album, I think Phil Rudd revitalized the band's sound and gave them the confidence they needed to take on the 2000s. I also love the bluesy aspect of this album. The Ballbreaker album cover is also one of my favorite AC/DC album covers ever. And despite the tension between Rick Rubin and the Young Brothers, I think the production is great. How much of the album was actually produced by Rick Rubin beats me, but whatever. Comment below your thoughts on AC/DC's Ballbreaker album and let me know your favorite songs from the record. If you like this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and hit that notification bell so that you never miss a video. With all that said, take care, see you real soon, peace. Rock and roll rules, dude!